The knife scraped against Dad's plate as he carved his steak like it had done something wrong. Lena's laugh bounced off the polished silverware, while she showed off marble countertops I'd been secretly paying for. "Home ownership just hits different," she said, and everyone nodded like it was scripture. I didn't argue. I just let my phone buzz quietly in my lap. Another rent payment clearing, another tenant funding the life they thought I could never afford. Mom watched me over the rim of her wineglass, eyes narrowed, voice sweet. "Mara, are you sure you're not hiding something?" She had no idea. The secret I'd carried for 2 years was sitting at that table with us, folded neatly inside a manila folder at my knee, waiting for the moment I finally decided. I was done pretending to be the disappointment. Every family has a story they don't talk about. Ours began cracking on a Sunday evening wrapped in warm smiles, polished silverware, and the kind of quiet judgment that settles into a house long before anyone speaks it aloud. And on that night, long before anyone realized it, something else was sitting at the table. A truth they had never imagined, and a secret I had been carrying for 2 years. Lena clicked her phone awake, lighting up her perfect smile and the entire dining room with it. She launched straight into a performance she'd rehearsed her whole life. Kitchen renovations, custom cabinetry, a backsplash she described like a newborn child. "Homeownership opens doors you can't even imagine," she declared, turning the phone to show off marble countertops like they were ancient artifacts. Mom glowed with pride, her nods almost ceremonial. Dad carved his steak with unnecessary conviction. I sat quietly, as I always did. Silence had become my armor at this table, my protection against the subtle digs about my cute consulting job, my modest Honda, and the apartment they assumed was rented out of necessity, not choice. Then Aunt Miriam, always observant, looked at me carefully. "Mara, what exactly is it you do again?" Her tone was casual. Her eyes were not. Before I could open my mouth, Lena cut in. "She works at a tiny consulting firm. It's adorable." Aunt Miriam didn't blink. Her suspicion hung in the air like a thread waiting to be pulled. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the tension of a truth trying to break through. Dad cleared his throat, leaning back in his chair with a look I recognized all too well. The look he used right before trying to catch someone in a lie. "So Mara," he said casually, "in your consulting job, do you ever deal with budgets, real ones?" My fork paused midair. It was a strange, loaded question, too specific to be innocent. "A bit," I answered lightly. Dad watched me for a beat too long. Because it just seems like the kind of work where employers don't trust juniors with much money. Not yet. Dad reached for his wine and casually added, "So what was that notification on your phone earlier? It sounded important." My stomach tightened. "Oh, just a client question," I said. Dad frowned. "Clients? I thought you said you worked on internal projects." Lena laughed too loudly. "Dad, please, Mara's not managing clients. It's spreadsheets and training modules." But Dad wasn't laughing. He tilted his head, watching me the way someone watches a puzzle piece that doesn't fit where it should. Aunt Miriam spoke next, her tone velvet smooth but sharp underneath. "Mara, how many clients do you actually handle?" Everyone turned. My pulse fluttered once, hard. "Just one," I lied, but I knew. That tiny crack of inconsistency had just widened. Dad didn't look away from me. He was studying my face, like he was waiting for a crack. That was when I realized he didn't fully buy the version of me they kept repeating. Not anymore. Dinner carried on, heavy with lectures I'd heard for years. On my way to refill my water, Mom pulled me gently toward the hallway, lowering her voice. "Sweetheart, are you okay financially?" Her tone wasn't kind, it was probing. "Of course," I replied. She didn't blink. "It's just your rent must be high, and you don't complain. People struggling usually complain." "Maybe I'm not struggling," I said. Mom gave me a tight, patient smile, the kind reserved for children who didn't understand the lesson. "Mara, be honest with me. Are you sure you're not hiding something?" Before I could respond, someone in the dining room laughed too loudly, and the moment snapped in half. Mom squeezed my hand once more and drifted back toward the table, leaving me standing there with her words echoing in my chest. I stayed in the hallway for a moment, letting her words settle. Behind me, the dining room buzzed with casual conversation, but every voice felt distant. Mom hadn't pulled me aside out of tenderness. I could feel it now. She'd been watching me all dinner. The silent phone buzz, the way I dodged Dad's questions, the moments I spoke a little too confidently about client projects. She wasn't worried I was struggling. She was worried I was hiding something. And the worst part? She was right. As I stepped back toward the dining room, I caught Mom watching me from her seat. Not with disappointment this time, but with suspicion. Her eyes followed me all the way back to my chair. For the first time that night, it felt like someone at the table was paying close attention. I took a slow breath, trying to steady myself. The truth pressed against the back of my teeth, heavy and unwelcome. Not because I wanted to lie, but because I knew the real story would rewrite everything they believed. I rejoined the table quietly, sliding into my seat as casually as possible. But my fingers were still trembling. Dad was mid-sentence about rising grocery prices. Lena was bragging about something again. Aunt Miriam was watching, everyone. The noise washed over me like static. I reached for my water glass, but my purse slipped slightly off my knee. And that's when it happened. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft shift of weight. A single corner of a manila folder slid into view, cream-colored, sharp-edged, the kind of document you don't carry for a tiny consulting job. Aunt Miriam's eyes snapped to it instantly. "What's that?" she asked, her voice light, too light. I pushed the folder back down, heart thudding. Just paperwork. But she'd already seen enough. Her eyebrows lifted, not in judgment, but in recognition. Lena jumped in again, too fast. Probably something for the little consulting gig. But Miriam didn't look away from me. And that's when I realized, if one more thing slipped, the truth I had protected so fiercely would spill into the room. Before Lena cornered me, I helped Dad load leftovers into containers. He mentioned casually, "These prices at the store are getting ridiculous. Even chicken thighs are up." Without thinking, I said, "Yeah, I had to renegotiate 3 lease renewals last month, because inflation pushed maintenance costs up." Dad paused. "Lease renewals?" I froze. "You mean at your building?" he asked, bewildered. I forced a laugh. No, I meant a client's building." But the damage was done. His eyes narrowed with dawning confusion. Something in my story wasn't adding up, and for the first time he could feel it. On the drive home, I replayed the moment the truth first began. A storm of corporate layoffs, a shaking voice on the other end of the line. "Mara, my job is gone. My mortgage is $3,200. I can't lose this house. Please don't tell anyone. Not Mom, not Dad, no one. The perfect daughter, the golden child of our family, was drowning, and she begged me not to let anyone know. And the worst part was, I understood exactly why. Lena wasn't just the older sister. In our family, she was the story, the proof that the Hartwells raised their daughters right. If she failed, it wasn't just her reputation that cracked. It was the entire image our parents worked so hard to polish. And I knew what would happen if I told the truth. They wouldn't comfort Lena. They'd blame me for knowing, for helping, for not helping enough, for letting their perfect daughter falter. So I protected her, not because she deserved it, not because she asked gently, but because in our family, Lena's image wasn't just hers. It was everyone's. And I was the only one who understood how fragile it really was. So I stepped in, quietly, automatically, month after month after month, a transfer from my business account into hers. No questions asked, no applause, no one knowing. It was supposed to last a few months. Her new job came with a $30,000 pay cut. Suddenly, her perfect home was a luxury she couldn't even come close to affording. But Lena needed the image. She needed the performance. She needed the applause. So I became her unseen foundation. And she kept the spotlight. I wasn't the struggling renter they imagined. My consulting job was a smokescreen, a convenient way to avoid the comparisons, the arguments, the condescension. My real work? A property company I built from the ground up. 17 rental homes, 17 tenants, 17 streams of income. I spent my nights signing leases, reviewing market trends, expanding a portfolio no one at that dinner table even suspected existed. And the woman lecturing me about building equity was living in a house I had been paying for. The irony never missed me. The morning after dinner, Lena sent a cheerful message. Thinking of redoing the master bathroom next. You know how it is. Always something to upgrade. My jaw tightened. Another $20,000 project. More debt, more illusions, more assumptions that I would continue to hold her life together behind the curtain. Her text wasn't careless, it was the breaking point. That night, something inside me clicked into place. Quiet, steady, final. I was done. I called Janet, my property manager. Stop processing the monthly payment to Lena Hartwell, I said. Effective immediately. Janet paused. Are you sure? Very. The second call was harder. Lena answered cheerfully. What's up? We need to talk about the mortgage payments. Her voice instantly shrank. What about them? Did something happen to the transfer? They're stopping. Next month is the last. Silence. Mara, I can't afford the mortgage on my salary. I thought we had an arrangement. We did for 2 years, but I'm not funding your lifestyle anymore. She spiraled. Excuses, delays, hopes, dreams, promotions, value-add renovations. Lena, I said quietly, you've been lecturing me about financial responsibility while I'm the one paying your mortgage. That's different, she whispered. No, it's not. Her world cracked open, and for the first time in years, she had to see herself without the shine. 3 days later, it all detonated. Lena called an emergency family meeting. Her eyes were red, her hands shook. I can't afford my house, she confessed. And Mara, she's been paying my mortgage for 2 years. The room froze. Dad burst first. That's impossible. Mara doesn't make that kind of money. Mom's pride wounded her voice. You should have come to us. Families handle these things. Uncle Marvin looked between us, stunned. So you let us think she was struggling? Lena's voice cracked, finally honest. Because everyone thinks Mara is the family failure. How was I supposed to admit I needed her help? Every assumption they'd ever made shattered at once, and for the first time. They looked at me with new eyes. I placed a single document on the coffee table. My consulting firm manages $12 million in assets, I said. I own 17 rental properties. Lena's mortgage is 8% of my monthly income. Dad's hands shook as he held the paper. Lena cried, not just from shame, but from the collapse of the image she'd built around herself. I wasn't the disappointment. I never had been. They just never bothered to see. When the meeting ended, I walked toward my car. Mara, wait. Lena stepped outside, eyes swollen. You blindsided me. No, I said gently. I told the truth. That's the same thing. Humiliation is pretending you're someone you're not. Truth is what's left when the pretending stops. She wrapped her arms around herself. I didn't know how to fail in front of them. For 2 years, I replied, you let me fail for you. She broke. Years of pressure, pride, and fear crashed down at once. I don't know how to fix this, she whispered. You start with honesty, I said, and then you build something real. Weeks passed. Lena listed her house. She toured modest condos. She learned what she could actually afford. The endless renovations and upgrades vanished. The image faded. The woman remained. Our next Sunday dinner wasn't transformed. It was tense, uncertain, real. But something new had entered the room. Respect. Quiet. Cautious. Growing. Months later, on a walk through a quiet park, Lena spoke softly. I still feel awful. All those years I judged you while taking your money. It taught me something too, I said. That helping someone in crisis isn't the same as enabling them. And for the first time in our lives, we saw each other without the family script. When her condo sold in November, she texted me, first mortgage payment on the condo, paid completely by me. It feels incredible. Thank you for everything, and for stopping when you needed to. It wasn't an apology, it was something better growth. In the end, the biggest transformation wasn't the sold house, or the shattered hierarchy, or the shifted family roles. It was the clarity that came when I finally said enough. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step out of the role someone else wrote for you and start living the one you were meant to write for yourself. Some family stories end with closure, others end with truth. Mine? It's only getting interesting.